Yes, let's start this Thursday's edition of the SportsMax Zone with some cricket. The first of two tests between West Indies and Pakistan will bowl off in the wee hours of Friday morning, 1:30 Eastern Caribbean time, 12:30 in Jamaica. The Caribbean side narrowed their squad to 12, and we're yet to ascertain what the final 11 will be. Here's Captain Craig Brathwaite providing the squad update during the pre-match press conference in Multan earlier on Thursday.
We have a 12-man squad, so I'll just give the guys that are out. Kemar Roach, he's not feeling well, so he's out for this game. Joshua De Silva, he's out as well. And Anderson Phillips, he's out. So we have a 12-man squad, and obviously tomorrow we'll make the decision on the final 11.
So while Brathwaite declined an opinion on the proposed two-tier Test championship, he did stress his belief that the Caribbean men are capable of beating any team in the world.
I think this series is very important for us. Obviously, 2 Test matches left in this cycle, and it's a new year. So at any day, you want to start the year strong, and it's important we finish this cycle, strong. That is our focus. I'm fully confident in this team to face any bowlers around the world. And it starts within. I think what I've been preaching to the batsmen, just believe and be brave, and fully confident that the guys, for sure, everyone here can do well, against any team in the world.
Now, the omission of the vice-captain Joshua De Silva may not have come as a surprise to some, cricket commentator and journalist, Joseph Reds Pereira included. Here's what he said about the wicket-keeper batsman during Wednesday's SportsMax Zone show.
I think he has struggled badly in the last series against Bangladesh. And I just thought that, Imlach has been around for about 4 tours now, and he hasn't played. He's got 55, he looked good, 9 fours in that 55. I don't believe within the heart of heart that they are going to leave out the silver. But, I mean, as an armchair commentator, I have to be honest to myself. And looking at what the 3-day game brought out, Sinclair put his hands up. Maybe initially they probably weren't thinking of Sinclair. He picked up 3, was 28 not out, etc. So that's basically my feeling about was the best 11 based on what we saw in the 3-day game. De Silva had a chance to right his form with the bat.
Yes, so Reds Pereira there did not think they would leave out Joshua De Silva, although he thought if he had been selecting the team he would have. Well, they have. Here's the 12-man squad heading into this opening Test match against the Pakistanis. Craig Brathwaite, captain Mikael Louis, Justin Graves, Casey Carty, Tevlin Imlach, Alec Athanaze, Kavem Hodge, Amir Jango, Gudakesh Moti, Kevin Sinclair, Jomel Warrican, and at 23 years old, the youngest member of this unit, Jaden Seals, a rising TNT fast bowler. Fazir Mohammed now joins us for some analysis. Faz, let me start by asking your impression of Joshua De Silva's non-inclusion in this squad. Craig Brathwaite said he was out. He didn't say he was dropped. He didn't say anything about him feeling unwell, as he did with Kemar Roach. So your thoughts, having flashed back to yesterday as well, Faz, that Reds Pereira didn't think that Joshua De Silva should play this opening Test, even though he didn't think the selectors would go there. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a bold move when you look at the fact that he really hasn't contributed in the last 2 series against Bangladesh and South Africa. And they're therefore sending a message to him as well, because clearly having elevated him to the vice-captaincy, they would have seen him as someone with some leadership potential. But having done that, you've got to contribute. Yes, behind the stumps, he's reasonably safe. He is prone to the odd error. But again, with such a weak batting lineup, you're expected to contribute a bit more than averaging 22, as he did all of last year, even though he had a few good bits in the series against England earlier in the year as well. So it's not surprising, but again, I think it's more about sending a message. And yes, he's been dropped, but as we've discussed it already, even talking about the India-Australia series, there seems to be this fear of saying that someone has been dropped. Well, he's been dropped. And therefore, the message has been sent to him that he needs to be far more productive with the bat to get back in the team. And now it really remains to be seen. I see we put the designation of wicketkeeper next to Amir Django, but it could very well be Tevin Imlach.
Yeah, and when you look at what faces the West Indies here, I would say they are going into this series as underdogs. I know you generally, Faz, don't read too much into what captains and coaches say with a microphone in front of them and a core of press people in front of them. But your thoughts on some of the things that Craig Brathwaite said today pre-match?
Well, it merely reinforces that listening to what captains have to say. I mean, whether it's a new year, an old year, whether it's the end of a campaign or whatever, it's like saying, well, it's a new year now, so we expect to win. The change of a calendar doesn't make a difference. It's your team's performance. Whether it's the start of a campaign or the end of a campaign as it is now with the 2-year cycle, it really depends on your team's performance. So yes, I mean, a lot of these things that are trotted out are really, to put it mildly, nonsensical. But it's repetitive. This is how you get it. Well, fine. But essentially, the West Indies have to up their game significantly. It's quite obvious, and Pakistan are going to pay the price for this whenever they travel. Because if you're going to create a situation every time with raging turners, you are hampering your own game with your fast bowlers especially and your batters being accustomed to playing fast bowling. But again, this is what they're doing right now. It worked against England. They expect it to work against the West Indies. And therefore, for the West Indies, they have to show that skill in coping with the turning ball virtually from ball one. Let's say the West Indies bat first and win the toss. I suspect whoever wins the toss will want to bat first because you don't want to bat last in conditions like this. Therefore, they've got to prepare themselves for that. And therefore, whether they go with Django, whether they go with Imlach, whether they go with 3 frontline spinners and just 1 pacer as the option, which seems quite obvious with Justin Graves maybe as support, at the end of the day, the West Indies have to lift their game beyond the mediocrity that has prevailed for quite a long time.
Yeah, and when you speak about that mediocrity, one of the players I was really looking forward to see in action, and it's mainly Faz because of his experience, mainly because of the results that he has yielded against Pakistan when we think about past matches, would have been Kemar Roach. So when I listened to the press conference today, I was a bit taken aback to know, well, he's ill. It's something we can't control, but he won't be a part of the team.
That's a disappointment because of his experience, because given what we expect from the conditions in Multan and Mariah, it's quite obvious that for the faster bowlers, it is going to be about long spells, not necessarily trying to blast the opposition out, because you won't be able to do that unless you've got the new ball and a few early overs you can really make an impact. It's really about perseverance. And therefore, it's going to be disappointing to lose someone with the experience of a Kemar Roach. But having said that, in the same way that we talk about transition, even if the selectors are hesitant to go that way of transition, sometimes fate takes its own hand. And therefore, because of illness, Jaden Seals is going to be the frontline fast bowler. He's going to have to shoulder much of that burden, how much of that burden it turns out to be based on whether conditions help him or not. But he's got to tell himself, if we're talking about Jaden Seals, that this idea that you just simply turn your face and fear the worst as a fast bowler in those conditions, you just simply have to look at the lessons of history, where West Indies have gone to the subcontinent, whether it's India, whether it's Pakistan, and have prevailed even with the fast bowlers, because they would have adjusted to the conditions, bowled to suit, and therefore tailored what was needed for the particular conditions. Not saying that the spinners aren't going to be bowling the bulk of the overs, that appears obvious, but certainly someone like a Jaden Seals will have to tell himself, these couple of test matches, I can make a statement as someone who's not just a friendly pitch bowler, in other words.
Yeah, and another thing that really had me feeling off, Faz, was the fact that West Indies still yet to win a match when it comes to this World Test Championship cycle. You're somebody that you don't really mince your words. I think that's why our viewers love listening to you. Do you feel we really have a realistic chance when it comes up against Pakistan with the team that has been named?
if we were to go purely on the players playing to their potential, I don't think we'll have a chance. But what we can rely on is Pakistan's noted mental frailty and their inconsistency. Because on any given day, Pakistan look like world beaters, much as the West Indies, you can say about the West Indies. And then on another day, they fall apart completely. We talked about it when South Africa clinched their spot in the World Test Championship final. The South Africans were struggling at 99 for 8, chasing 100 and almost 150. And in the end, they got it all without losing another wicket. And the Pakistanis were easily rattled by how the ninth wicket player went after the runs. And in the same way, when West Indies famously won by 1 wicket with Jaden Seals and Kemar Roach at the crease at Sabina Park 4 years ago, Pakistan contributed to their own demise, dropping chances, panicking, everyone rushing to the bowler and so on. So that is what the West Indies can rely on. If they can show that stick-to-itiveness, if they can really say, well, look, this is an opportunity to spend time in the middle, as difficult as it's going to be, and really grind the Pakistanis, play on their mental frailties, play on their temperament, and try to take advantage of that, then the West Indies have a chance. But if they go at it helter-skelter, as we saw with England, then it's going to be 2-0 Pakistan.
Yeah, Faz, I think you forgot to also say that once the West Indies avoid Shannon Gabriel-like shots when they're 9 wickets down, then we should be okay in this series. Faz, I also know that you are not on IG and you're not on X, formerly Twitter. I'm looking right now at the official account of Cricket West Indies, that's Windies Cricket on X, where they released the 12-man squad earlier today. And at the top of that is a note that says, uncapped Tevin Imlak will debut in the opening test against Pakistan. Does that make any clearer where the Caribbean men are going with the final 11 in your own mind?
I think so, because if that is confirmation, although I read a report on Cricinfo which said that Amir Jangu will be the wicketkeeper batsman to make his test debut. So again, mixed signals. But if it's the official line from Cricket West Indies, then I would expect Tevin Imlak to play as wicketkeeper batter. But again, we'll have to wait and see, because some of these mixed signals, they just somehow deliberate in many ways to maybe even confuse the Pakistanis as to what is going to happen. But at the end of the day, I don't think it makes a difference unless the players step up. Unless the players step up to the challenge, because it will be a challenge. Taking on Pakistan, in Pakistan, from what we hear as well, it's going to be bitterly cold. Remember, it's winter time in the northern hemisphere, which includes Pakistan, and therefore in that part of Pakistan, in Multan, it might be dry and sunny, but it's going to be extremely cold as well. So that is going to challenge the bowlers, the finger spinners, getting proper grip on the ball and feeling comfortable in those conditions. So all of these elements should make, because again, you're talking about 2 very unpredictable teams, should make for some intriguing cricket.
Yeah, of course, very much the case, fans. And of course, we also have to consider that maybe it was an intern who put out this post on Twitter for Cricket West Indies. You never know these days. Faz, I also wanted to get your take on Craig Brathwaite expertly going around the question about the 2-tier test system at the press conference today, not offering an opinion, and the West Indies media liaison saying immediately after that Cricket West Indies has not yet given their position on the matter, and therefore Craig Brathwaite doesn't have a position on the matter. What did you make of that?
Well, that is foolishness from Cricket West Indies to basically tell a captain he can't have an opinion. So, but again, this is the era we are in, where basically players are instructed how to say, what to say, and code of conduct and all sorts of things. The point is, what is wrong in Craig Brathwaite, the West Indies captain, saying, well, it might be a good idea, it might be motivation for us to move up if there's proper promotion and relegation, or I disagree with it because I think it is really going to result in a real struggle financially and so on. What is wrong? That he's a captain. He is supposed to have a brain between his ears. He's supposed to be able to think on his feet, and therefore expressing an opinion, whether Cricket West Indies has an opinion or not, is irrelevant. But again, these are the days that we live in, Ricardo and Lance and Mariah, where media people, media instructors feel it's their business to tell people what to say, what question to ask. No, that question is not allowed. But media, unfortunately, for many of us, tend to back away and rather than say, look, who do you feel you are? Who do you think you're talking to? This is a legitimate question in relation to the talk of a two-tier system that could affect the West Indies. And I am asking an opinion. I'm not interested in cricket West Indies having an opinion. So if Craig Bradford has to make a change in the field, does he call Antigua to get a word as to what he should do at 1:45 in the morning?
Now that you're in this mood, Faz, what do you think about the two-tier test system?
He went back into a good mood.
I like that one, Lance. If it is, Lance, that it is a proper two-tier system with proper funding and proper promotion and relegation and a proper structure that everyone can see that there's no exceptions for an Ashes series, that there are no exceptions for India, Australia, India, England, and so on. But it's level right across the board. In the same way, it's 90 minutes of football from the Premier League to the nationwide league, wherever it is. It's 90 minutes. If they're going to do that, then it's something that would be, you'd have to say, inevitable as far as the structure and putting a proper promotion and relegation. But if it is, as I suspect, it's all about money and the big three wanting to capitalize on the revenue that is available now, then it's an idea that not necessarily doomed to fail, but it's going to be the death knell of some of the poorer nations when it comes to test match cricket.
Yeah, and having said that, Faz, are you surprised at the number of Caribbean people that, and I'm judging from Kenny Benjamin and some of the responses that we have gotten in our interactive segment, are you surprised then that so many Caribbean people don't have an issue with the two-tier test system?
Well, from what I've been reading, and Kenny Benjamin and even Michael Holding said that it's not a bad idea, but there's always that caveat of the two-tier system if it's going to be properly run as far as promotion and relegation. And we haven't heard that. We haven't heard it said that it is going to be at the end of every the bottom team in Tier 1 goes down, the top team in Tier 2 goes up, or there's going to be a playoff or something. We haven't heard anything like that. We haven't heard anything about funding. Is there going to be equal funding across the board for all the Tier 1, Tier 2 teams to allow them to be able to grow their game? We haven't heard about issues about is it going to be mandatory to play 3 tests for the points to make sense rather than having to go with percentages. So I think those in agreement, far be it from me to read what they are saying, but I think they're in agreement in principle that it's a fair and transparent system. But I don't think those who are pushing this idea, the big three, have made that very clear at all.
Yeah. All right, Faz, we're going to leave it there. We'll talk again tomorrow, I'm sure, because very, very critical what happens on the opening day of this test series between Pakistan and West Indies. And thanks a lot, Faz, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.